G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be previewing Battlegrounds Season 29, Weeks 3 to 4 of the Gladiator Circuit. So this is going to be the Invade meta. So Invade is a very powerful node, but also a very dangerous node, because basically what it does is it gives you like basically 4 times the amount of attack you normally have when you're hitting the opponent's block. But that also applies to the defender. So when the defender is hitting your block, they also have 4 times the amount of damage. And they also, both champions have 100% block penetration. So you don't want to block in this meta, and you do want to hit the opponent's block a lot. There also is a node that makes you benefit from hitting the opponent's block. Whenever you strike the defender's block with a basic attack, you gain 4% of your max power. However, the defenders also get a 50% extra power, extra combat power rate from Energize. So it's not quite Energize you see in other nodes. Like, it's not quite a double Energize, so it's only an extra 50%, not 100%, but it still is more than normal, obviously. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the best attackers for this meta. All right, so as far as attackers go, there's going to be 4 different categories I'm going to talk about. Some categories have more champions than others. The first category I'll talk about here is champions that can either crit through block or get pierce or impact through their abilities. So Bullseye is obviously one of these champions that can easily, like, he crits on every hit anyway, and those crits do apply through block. And not only that, he also applies instant bleeds through block. So all of that, as well as his cruelties that he gains, like, all of that makes him very, very strong on offense. Obviously he'll be a great defender as well, but don't sleep on Bullseye offensively. He's going to be an absolute menace this meta on attack. Similarly, Corvus, another champion with guaranteed crits all the time. He is not really great for Battlegrounds, but in a meta like this, he's just gonna absolutely dominate. Like, if you do not have a Corvus and you see your opponent have Corvus, like, definitely at least consider banning him, because he will be, there's not many champions he won't be able to take. He's gonna be an absolute menace in this meta. Just like Bullseye, he's gonna destroy rank 4s in like 30 seconds. It's not gonna be fun if you face a Corvus doing that. This probably isn't as popular as Corvus or Bullseye, but it's Danny Moonstar, so she does actually get impact from her special 1, I think, or maybe it's, oh sorry, special 2 gets the impact. So obviously she can do heaps of that damage through block. Her special 2 does hit quite hard. So yeah, each hit of the special 2 grants a 10% impact, and she has a lot of hits in her special 2. So she can really be quite strong. Definitely probably not as quick as Bullseye or Corvus, but will do pretty well herself. And obviously she can turn off those immortalities as well with her marked ability when she's awakened. You might want to break into your 6-star Hulkling, get him back into the deck if you have him ascended, or rank 5 at least. I'm probably going to put mine back in the deck. He's just so strong for these sort of metas, because it just plays into his playstyle so much. Impact, because you really want to be hitting into block with Hulkling. So that plus kinetic absorption. He already has his own kinetic absorption ability. When he hits in a block, he gains power. He gains power over time. This one here, whenever a shapeshift buff is gained, he passively gains 7% of a bar of power. So he's going to be able to get to that unblockable special 2 as quickly as possible, or even quicker than normal. So he's going to be really, really strong. And definitely will be able to punch up to rank 3s and even rank 4s. Like, I'm not even joking. He's going to be really strong. Lumitrix is actually someone that actually can crit through block. I don't have a video of this because I don't have Lumitrix ranked up, and it doesn't actually say here in his abilities, but I have seen some gameplay, and he actually can crit through blocks with his guaranteed crits once he gets those cunnings. So he'll be an underrated option for for offense. Can definitely do some things even better than he normally can. I do have Mantis in this category now. She doesn't actually have like crit through block, basic attacks. She doesn't have pierce, she doesn't have impact, but she does have her intimidate, and so that actually makes the opponent want to block a lot. We already talked about Hulkling. Hulkling also has to intimidate on his heavy attack, so she will actually be really good for this meta. And there is a way you can play with Mantis. I'm not very good at it, but you can actually, when you heavy cancel into your special 2, you can basically delay the special 2 so that the opponent does block with those, and you have those 10 Furies that can still actually crit through that, and you can get those guaranteed crits and make your special 2 damage even higher than it normally is. It's something that I haven't bothered practicing yet, but it is a way to get around Invade and get even more damage out of your Mantis. Next up is Massacre. So I have an unduped Massacre. I do I do recommend that if you are going to be using Massacre this meta, that he is Awakened, just for the extra critical rating. Yeah, I did actually feel a bit underwhelmed using Massacre, my unduped rank 2 Massacre. But he will do some fights all right. Obviously, he gets a bunch of block penetration anyway. But the thing is, like, in this meta, your champions have 100% block penetration, all champions. So Massacre's block penetration from his special 2 is nice, but it doesn't actually, like, the champions already have block penetration from the node. So it doesn't actually, it sort of like is a null and void really. In a way, you do get some extra damage as well, but through the 300% attack, but it's not as strong as I actually thought it would be. Shang-Chi can get guaranteed crits on his special 2, just like Mantis. So he'd be actually really strong if you can get those Wushu strikes. Like get even like, you don't even need really many of them. I did do a bit of gameplay testing with my rank 2. He was like low sig. You do need this guy Awakened to do it though, because that's part of his ability. In his Awakened ability, Shang-Chi can perform critical hits through the opponent's block. So you do need this guy Awakened if you want to use him in this meta, but he'll be very strong. Even at rank 2, he can do a lot of fights that he normally wouldn't be able to do. Someone we already mentioned Hulkling, but Valkyrie as well. So someone who also 6-star lock, she's very, very strong for Invade, because just like Hulkling, this plays into her playstyle so much. Just hitting it, you can just hit into block the entire fight. You gain power. She gets those she gets PS buffs, and you can chain into a special 2. The special 2 was designed on purpose to create distance, so there's no chance you get punished from the special 2. You can even use her against unstoppable opponents if you are Awakened. So mine's 6200. That means when she gets as long as she has at least 1 pierce, she can hit into unstoppable opponents. So she'll be one of the better counters for Deathless Thanos here. So yeah, definitely consider adding her to the deck if you do have a high rank Valkyrie as a 6-star. A brand new champion, Yelena Belova, she's going to be one of the best dual threats this meta, because she can land critical hits through block, just like a lot of these other skill champions. You'll notice that this category is very skill based, because a lot of these guys can crit through block, and Yelena is no exception. She also gets her impact on a special 1. That's on impact. That's on activation. Not on impact. It's on activation. She gets the impact, so she's able to crit through the block for that whole special. And her special 2, in fact, just like, yeah, good luck surviving that. Yeah, so that's the first category. So those guys that can crit through block. Definitely, you want to have a lot of these guys. Well, not a lot. Definitely want to have a handful of these guys in your deck to really cheese some fights. All right, guys. So the next category we're going to talk about here is actually champions that have more than at least 6 hits in their combo. So champions like with double mediums, or even triple mediums, double lights, triple lights. So this actually isn't the strongest category for attackers. We've got Black Cat here, we've got Black Widow, Deadly Origins, North Star, Okoye, Quicksilver. There's also other ones like Spiral and Domino. I don't think that these guys will be very strong offensively. And that's mostly because a lot of these guys, they don't actually benefit from hitting block. Like, they don't actually get going with their abilities. Like, you know, Quicksilver can't get his whiplashes through block. He can't, Okoye can't get her shocks and bleeds through block. Black Widow can't get her shocks through block. Black Cat can't get her card transfers through block. But it will help them get more power quicker. So you might want to consider adding them as like your 28th, 29th, 30th champions in your deck if you're just struggling to find those last couple of champions to fill out your deck properly. So I'm just putting them out there as like a suggestion maybe to consider, but I personally don't think they're actually going to be too strong for this meta because of that. They don't really benefit too much with their abilities from hitting into block. But it's definitely worth considering though. Alrighty guys, so the next category we're going to talk about is champions that have damage over time in their specials and they can inflict through block. So because you get, you know, extra 300% attack through block, that applies to specials that are thrown into block. So champions that can inflict damage over time through block, those numbers are going to go through the roof. So Kate Bishop is a prime example of this. She can obviously, with her cryo ability, her cold snaps, they already deal a bunch of damage, but throwing them into block, they deal like an absolutely insane amount of damage. Kate Bishop is one of the few 6-stars you definitely want in your deck. If you do have one, should be one of the best counters to Zola, I think. I think I do have I've got a video here that I'll show you guys of Kate Bishop. The damage she can get on that special 2 especially is just crazy. So definitely she's gonna be a menace this meta. Someone that not many people have yet is Nico Minoru. So she can actually inflict her damaging debuffs through block here on the special 1. So she can just spam that special 1 through block. And I think just the special 1, maybe not the special 2. So you can get those poisons and stuff through block. I don't really know too much about Nico, but I have heard she's going to be pretty strong in this meta. Nova is also someone that can get his damage over time through block. It's not like a damage over time debuff, but it's like his energy burst damage that can go through block. And he's someone that can really get a lot of damage through that. I don't think he can crit through block, but he can get a lot of that energy damage to go through block. And then you can hopefully win with that. So I think this special 2, the special 2. It's the consume up to the 50 Nova charges to deal up to 50% of damage on burst energy damage, and so that burst does go through block. So I think my Nova is rank 2. I'm not sure if I'll run my rank 2 Nova, but definitely if he releases the rank 3 Nova, he'll be really, really strong offensively. Onslaught is someone who's going to be quite crazy. Obviously, he has some of the strongest damage over time in the game with his special 2. If you get that special 2 with 20 degens, you can do an absolutely ridiculous amount of damage. And if you throw that through block, that just dialed up to insane levels of damage. So this guy is going to be really, really strong. If you can manage to get around blocking too much, and you're able to stack your neuros, you'll be able to do a ton of damage by throwing that special 2 in the block, and that special 2 does create distance, so there's no chance of you getting punished there. If you've ever been unfortunate enough to block a Sentinel special 2 when fighting him, you'll know that does a ton of damage to the block through the incinerates, and that will happen offensively now with Sentinel. If you can get max analysis, throw a special 2 in the block, it just is really, really good for Sentinel, because just hitting in the block, you build analysis that benefits you. You build analysis, and you're gaining the extra attack from impact, and you're gaining power from kinetic absorption. So you can use that just to get to a special 2, throw it into block, and by the time you do that, the defender probably won't even have a special 1. Like, that's how much power you get from kinetic absorption. So definitely consider running Sentinel offensively. Spider-Man Supreme is also one who could be worth running. So his special 2 does a crazy amount of damage if you're in your Blessing of the Spider Totem. But even just without Spider Totem, you can go do a lot of energy damage. You can see here, special 2, both of these effects go through block: the Spider Totem damage from nullifying, and also the energy damage from burst. So you don't want to use him against champions with high energy resistance, but against most of champions, he's going to do really, really strong damage in that special 2. Similarly, Spider-Punk, he can do a ton of damage on his special 2. These rupture debuffs, when he does those, you do that mini game swiping up and down. If you get all 3 of those, get that through block, those rupture debuffs going to go really, really strong damage. So definitely worth considering. Another very, very brand new champion, Spider-Woman. So she obviously just got added to the Titan. She can inflict her special 1 shocks through block, which is here. So she looks like each hit inflicts an instant shock and consumes a buff to inflict a second shock. So those instant shocks are just going to be dialed up, by 4 times through block. Her special 1 creates a ton of distance as well, so no chance to get punished there. Another one is Werewolf by Night. So he actually, it's not just through block, it's also through your basic attacks. By hitting the block, you can put those ruptures on, and just straight away they have 4 times the amount of damage. And he's one of those champions that likes hitting into block. Similarly, the Sentinel and Hulkling and Valkyrie, he has a playstyle where you benefit from hitting into block, and then you can throw that massive special 2 when you're in the curse, and you just win. He'll be really, really strong as a 7-star. He's probably going to be one of my banned champions, to be honest. He's going to be that strong. All right, so on to the final category for attackers. This category only actually has 2 champions. You can maybe even put more than 2 in. These are just the 2 I've chosen. So basically, these champions benefit from they basically have massive special 3 damage, right? And so the way impact works is you have extra attack while you're hitting block. So if you do a full combo, it doesn't even have to be a full combo, but if you combo with a block and then immediately throw a special 3, that special 3 actually benefits from the extra damage you get from impact. And so champions like Havoc, who have a ridiculous amount of damage on their special 3, he has extra attack for each plasma charge converted. Havoc is famous for having a massive special 3. That's just going to get dialed up to even crazier numbers with impact. He'll be able to one-shot so many champions just for this special 3. I'm not sure if you can say the same about Killmonger, because Killmonger has to inflict at least 15 bleeds in the fight before he can get a massive bleed to stack. So could be worth running maybe, but he'd probably be more of a defender, to be honest. Domino is another one who has a massive special 3 on attack. She's definitely more of a defender in Battlegrounds, but her special 3 damage scales with the amount of crits that's happened in the fight, and you can get a massive, if you get really lucky, you can get a critical bleed. So Domino is also another one that's worth running potentially for that special 3 damage offensively. So that's going to be for the attackers, guys. So let's talk about the defenders. All right, so now onto the defenders. So I've got 3 categories here for defenders, and the first one is going to be champions that have really hard to deck specials, or sometimes even impossible to deck specials. So Bishop is one of those. His special 1 is very, very tricky to dex. It is possible to dex it, but I've maybe been able to do it once, like as a fluke. So if you can, so the trick would be to like push him in special 2 if you can, and that is easier in this meta because of the energize. But yeah, you don't want to deal with that special 1, not only because of the block damage, but also the incinerate attached to it after. Obviously, Bullseye is a famous example of someone who has a very tricky special to dex. Obviously, his special 1 as well is dexable, and it is actually easier to dex, I think, than Bishops. I've been able to do it somewhat successfully recently, but obviously it does have bleeds attached to it as well, so it is possible to dex. But yeah, definitely you want to be careful when fighting this guy. It might even be obviously it might be smarter to just eat the special 1 instead of blocking it, to be honest. Count Neferi is someone who has very, very tricky specials to dex, particularly the special 1, but even the special 2 as well. I've never been able to dex the special 2. But also why he'll be a good defender in this meta is if he's in Ionic Overcharge. When he gets to Ionic charges, he actually reduces the opponent's pit elite power rate by 95%, and he actually steals that power gain. So basically, the power you get from kinetic absorption, he's just going to steal all of that. It makes him really, really tough to deal with. You won't be able to cheese that with kinetic absorption. Joe Fix, another one, pretty much an undexable special 1. I've never been able to do it, so if you can push him in special 2, amazing. Same with Null, same with Nick Fury, same with Punisher. Like, these guys are really, really tricky specials to dex. And so it's going to be very tricky. You have to know what you're doing. Definitely have a game plan in mind. Maybe you sort of like combo into their special 1, use the relic, and then try to get to the special 2. So that you can, and with the energizer, it is easier to do that, so that you don't have to deal with these guys' special 1s, because these guys' special 1s are just going to be a lot of trouble if you just, or I mean, this guy both specials really are going to be really annoying. He's going to be a great defender. I was even considering putting my 6-star into the deck, but I'm not sure if I will in the end. But definitely, if you have a 7-star like rank 2 or rank 3 Punisher, absolutely have him in the deck, because he's going to be a nightmare to deal with for most attackers. And then a very famous one, Serpent. Serpent specials can't be dexed, famously, unless you have someone like Dazzler or Spiral who can dodge attacks. Yeah, this guy's special 1 in particular, well, both specials really, but the special 1, I don't think anyone can dex it. Maybe it's possible. I'm sure someone has done it before. But then the special 2 can be dexed by those champions that I mentioned, like Dazzler and Spiral and Nightcrawler and stuff, Quicksilver, but not going to be too many good options for this guy this meta. It's pretty much going to be an auto win if you have Serpent on defense. Yeah, there's not really going to be many good counters at all. I think probably Spiral will be the best one, since you can just prevent him from throwing specials. Yeah, but there's not going to be many good counters to this guy. Nico as well, maybe. All right, guys, this next category here is, I've called it the anti-invade category, because it's basically these champions that have they have some sort of mechanic that that makes it a bit tricky if you want to hit them into block. So starting off with Zola here. So Zola, obviously he has his ESP charges. So basically, if you hit into block, he gains 3 ESP charges. Now, while he won't reduce that block damage, he will, like, once he gets to 20 charges, that's when he starts having a chance to inflict sleep when you hit him. I don't think, I'm not sure. I think it does actually count. Like, if you're hitting into block and he has 20 charges, I think he still can inflict sleep if you're hitting into block. Someone let me know if I'm wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure he can still inflict sleep if you're just hitting into block. Dark Phoenix is someone who has safeguard, so also Captain Britain, so she can sort of go in the same boat here. Obviously, Captain Britain's goes on cooldown though. Dark Phoenix's doesn't go on cooldown, so she has a 5% safeguard buff. And then it's actually even better with the awakened ability. So she's going to really limit the amount of damage that champions like Corvus and Hitmonkey can do into her block. And then obviously her special 1, you don't want her to throw that because it has that stopple attached. Her special 2 can be a bit tricky to deck sometimes. So definitely you want to have a game plan when fighting Dark Phoenix. You won't just be able to nuke her like you will with most champions. Similarly, Thanos. So Thanos will also not be nukeable at all. But Thanos will be even tankier than Dark Phoenix because he has those counterpunch charges, right? So when he gets 10 necrotic energy, he gets a counterpunch, and then as soon as the next hit into block, he's going to go unstoppable. So unless you have a really strong unstoppable counter, I think Shang-Chi and Valkyrie, they'll be really good for this guy. But there's really not going to be too much outside of that in terms of champions that you want to hit block with. Obviously, you can still play around and not hit into his block with champions like Chavez or Shathra, Juggernaut. Like those champions can still take him without hitting in the block, but he just won't be nukeable like a lot of other defenders will be. Dust is another one you don't want to hit in the block because if you don't know, whenever you hit into her block, she inflicts sand on you, and she also glances the attack, so it means it can't crit and it has 50% less damage as well. So Dust will be really tanky on defense, won't be nukeable. You have to hit her normally to actually do the proper damage. Korg will be someone that you definitely will have to be careful about hitting into the block. You can do it once or twice, but you don't want to hit him too many times into block because that's when he's just going to start going unstoppable and unblockable passively. If you have a way to like get around the thorns, that's great, but you still don't want to hit into block because that's gonna be really troublesome for you. No one, unless you have someone like I said, like Valkyrie or Shang-Chi, you won't be able to stop that unstoppable. And Red Skull is another one. Unless you have a really strong armor breaker like Corvus or Medusa, you won't be able to hit into this guy's block freely. Unless you have someone that's power burn immune, sorry. Then you'll be able to do it into block, but still, like, you have a lot of crit resistance. Most champions won't be able to hit into this guy's block without having a real problem. One of a bit of a left field one is Spot. So Spot, I do have a rank 3 Spot myself. So he actually, if you don't know, when he holds his block as a defender or an attacker, he gets his portal up. And then when that portal is up, he has a ton of extra block proficiency. I think if we look at a rank 3, he has 10,400 block proficiency bonus per spot. And so when he's defending, that portal block starts straight away. There's a bit of a warm up period when he's an attacker. But so if you hit into his block, he's gonna get spots, and then if he gets 5 spots and you hit him, he's gonna go untouchable and stun immune. So you got to be careful about fighting Spot. You won't be able to nuke him with most champions, unless you have someone with Disorient, like a Massacre or Nick Fury. If you can put a Disorient on him, then he won't be able to actually open his portal block. So Disorient is his major weakness, his kryptonite. So if you can put a Disorient on him, you'll be able to nuke him. But apart from that, like, you'll have to be careful. I still think like Mantis and stuff, or Black Cat will still be able to nuke him without too much issue, without hitting into block. But yeah, definitely be careful when fighting Spot. You don't want to hit into this guy's block with anyone. And then, well, she's already like one of the, if not the best defender in the game, at least very close, top 3, Yelena Belova. So the reason why she's going to be even stronger of a defender in Invade is because, well, obviously a lot of people know about her observation mode. So her observation mode means that she caps the opponent's attack rating at 60% of what it is at the start of the fight, right? And that means that, so Invade tries to give you 300% attack. It tries to give you that. It wants to give you that. But Yelena says no. Yelena just still caps it at 60%. So even though you're hitting into the block, Corvus, when hitting into block against most champions, my rank 3 Corvus will be hit 25k mediums. But against Yelena, he'll be absolutely nowhere near that. He'll be lucky to hit like 5k maybe. He'll get absolutely no bonus damage from Invade, and neither will anyone else. Unless, if you have a Daunted on her, you'll get it to 100%, but that's still 100% compared to 300, really 400% that everyone else has as hitting in the block. So she's going to be an absolute pain to fight. You're going to just have to play her normally, really. Doesn't matter if you hit in the block or hit her normally, it's going to be the same anyway. So yeah, good luck when fighting Yelena. I'm probably going to have to fight a few of her now that she's in my deck, but yeah, she is not going to be a fun champion to fight at all this meta. Alright, so the final category of defenders is going to be champions that force blocking. So they have each one of them has a different way to force you to block, depending on who you're using. So Domino is a prime example of this. Unless you're using a tech champion, you have a chance to go unlucky when she crosses a bar of power. And when that happens, you can't dex, including her special attacks. So if she throws a special 1 and you're unlucky, you have to block it. Like, you can't dex it. And if you block that, you know, with Invade, that's gonna suck. It might even be a better strategy just to dex it, or you know, just to let it hit you. It might even mean less damage rather than blocking it. So, got to be very careful when fighting Domino. With a tech champion, you'll do alright because you won't go unlucky, but definitely got to be careful if you're not using a tech champion here. Another one is Enchantress. Enchantress might be like up there with Yelena as one of the toughest defenders this meta, as well as Serpent. Because when she, obviously her spells make it, you have to do things to her to remove her spells, like hit her when she's throwing a heavy, or intercept her, or knock her down. Those things are very tricky to do without blocking, especially hitting her when she's throwing a heavy attack. You got to be very good at bait blocking heavy attacks. Knocking down without blocking is very tricky to do. So Enchantress is going to be a real pain in the ass for a lot of attackers. There's really not going to be too many champions that will be able to do her well. I think maybe Titania will be okay. I think Joe Fixer I've seen can do pretty well. But really, there's not going to be too many champions that can do her safely. Enchantress, maybe Silk as well. But yeah, good luck when fighting Enchantress with most champions. She's going to be a real pain in the ass if she wasn't already. And then the next one is Photon. So Photon, if you don't know, when she's in pure light, she has undexable specials. So just like Serpent all the time, Photon she just has it in pure light, but it means you have to block that special one. Her special 2 is unblockable, so you can't block that. But the special 1 blocks in pure light are going to be really nasty in Invade. So you either just push her to special 2 before pure light, and then you try and nuke her before she gets to pure light. Or you get the pure light before she gets a bar of power, and then keep her under a bar of power and let pure light run out. There's not many. Those are pretty much the ways you can get around it. But yeah, definitely you got to be very careful when fighting Photon this meta. And then another one, I already mentioned her as a really good attacker, Spider Woman. So she can actually inflict severe fumble debuffs. So those basically, they're similar to Domino. They prevent you from dexing her special attacks. So you got to be very aware of that. I'm not really sure if there's too many counters to this at all, because there's severe debuffs. You can't purify them or anything. Maybe you can cleanse them. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's going to be really annoying to fight Spider Woman, especially because not only that, she also has her crazy evade. Which makes it tricky because I think she can evade when she's blocking as well. So yeah, gotta really understand how she works if you want to fight Spider Woman with much success in this meta. Alright guys, that pretty much covers it for the attackers and defenders in meta. If you think I've missed anyone, please let me know, because I would love to hear what you guys thinking, what you've tested in the off season, see what works for you. I definitely am all ears for that sort of stuff. I love hearing what you guys have been trying out. But let's go on to the masteries. So this is going to be pretty similar to last meta, probably. There's not too many masteries that will be beneficial in this meta, particularly. I'm running Deep Wounds mostly actually for my defenders that have bleeds, like Bullseye and Yelena. Just having those bleeds inflict through block, they'll do even... they won't last longer because the instant bleeds I'm talking about, why I have this on is because they inflict instant bleeds that do 1% of max health. So basically, if you ever accidentally dex Bullseye or you get hit by Yelena into blocked, that's an instant bleed. You just lose 1% of your health there. So that's mostly for my defenders there. One mastery I will talk about just briefly is Collar Tech. So I do have 5 out of 5 Collar Tech unlocked. I'm not sure if I'm going to run it for this meta. But you can basically, for your tech champion, you can reduce the opponent's combat power rate by up to 18%. Now with the Energize 1 node, they basically get 50% combat power rate. So that's an extra 50%. And so the Collar Tech only subtracts 18% from that. So it actually doesn't subtract that much. It's not like an 18% of the total. It's only minus 18%, not like times 0.82% or whatever. It's only a minus, so it's not going to be super beneficial. And I think that you could probably spend your points better elsewhere. Such as like Stand Your Ground or Deep Wounds or even Assassins. Obviously, I like having an equity 3 out of 3 for my defenders that have debuffs. That'd be really good for Photon, Spider Woman, or a lot of your science champions, especially that you're going to be placing on defense. And then Mystic Dispersion 5, or obviously I always run that. Limber is 5 out of 5. This website still hasn't updated for the 61st mastery point that you get from the Radiant store, so I've got Limber 5 out of 5. So it's pretty stock standard mastery setup. I do have 9 and 9 greater vitality just to give my defenders more health mostly. So yeah, let me know what you guys are going to be thinking about running for your mastery setups, whether you're going to be doing anything differently. But that's about going to do it for today's video. Let me know if you guys enjoyed it. If you like these sort of videos, I definitely want to keep doing them in future seasons. We do have the nodes for season 30 and 31. I'm going to try and get those videos out earlier than what I'm doing for this video. This video is a bit late, so apologies for that. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.